my name is Evan, and I'm the E-Director. You're probably wondering why my voice sounds like this. And yes, I am on helium. I have been wanting to do this video for a very long time now. Especially one where I just start with helium in my voice. It feels really weird. Well, today I'm going to be talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. And I know I already did a video on this. I'm just going to be doing a spoiler review, which means, yeah, there's going to be a ton of spoilers in this video. If you have not seen Star Wars: The Last Jedi, do not continue. Because if you continue, then you will be spoiled, and then you will not like the movie, because it's a great movie, and you should really see it. Anyway, like I said, shoot, my helium's going away. Once again, I am Evan, the E-Director, and this is my spoiler review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Okay. Here's the hole. Wow, I'm already feeling really lightheaded. So for once, I actually did not waste my time writing a script, and instead, I just went ahead and wrote some notes down, like, some brainstorming ideas, so I can know what exactly to mention in this essay or this review. So, as I mentioned in my stupidly high intro, this is a spoiler review, so spoiler warning if you have not seen the film, but let's be honest, if you actually wanted to, you most likely already have seen it. Otherwise, here's some big letters on the screen for you, warning you once again, there will be spoilers. So if you have not seen it, do not continue, because this movie is amazing, and you need to be surprised. Okay, let's begin. So to start off this essay, this review, I kind of wanted to go over the acting part of things. You guys know me and my desperate love and romantic feelings for Daisy Ridley. I am desperately in love with her. However, I have to be completely unbiased with this review. So, my biased self says she was amazing, and my unbiased self says she was even better. Her portrayal of Rey in this film was absolutely amazing. She did an amazing job portraying the struggle in her heart. She was fierce, her character was, and she wasn't, what's the word? She wasn't out of place. She was exactly what she needed to be. She wasn't more than that. She wasn't any less. Her character was extremely strong and empowering, yet while being empowering, she was still flawed, which is an important factor in all of this. She wasn't some perfect character that just, was surrounded by plot armor. She was a really good character, and I really liked that. Once again, we got to see Adam Driver come back as Kylo Ren, and I have to say I was thoroughly impressed with Kylo Ren, despite being absolutely thick. Kylo Ren was an awesome character in this film, and I have to say I was really impressed with Adam Driver's performance. He also had a similar role to Rey. He was a really strong character, yet he was still flawed, which is really important, and his character had a huge struggle between the dark side and the light side, as we know from the from Force Awakens. He is the one to pull the trigger, or I guess to ignite the lightsaber on Snoke, yet in the end we see that it wasn't for the same reasons that it should have been. See, although he was still struggling with the light side, the dark side in him took over, and yet although he did remove the dark side threat in the galaxy, he also did it for the wrong reasons. We saw We saw Kylo Ren kill Snoke for the only reasons of taking his place and, of course, becoming the new person in charge. But I think Adam Driver did an amazing job portraying this, and you could really see the struggle in his eyes, and that is highly commendable. Next, we have the career best performance from Mark Hamill. I was amazed. His character was so perfect, and I'll get into his character arc a bit more later. A lot of people didn't like him in this movie, but I don't know why. There's a huge trending hashtag going around on Twitter, hashtag not my Luke. I don't understand this. Mark Hamill did an amazing job portraying Luke Skywalker once again, and although it may not have been the same Luke we all know and love, it was in terms of he's changed, and Mark Hamill did that perfectly. And then we get down to my favorite performance in the film, Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron. I loved Poe Dameron in the first film, and let's be honest, how could you not want to see a movie where you get to see Oscar Isaac belly rubbing a droid? Oscar Isaac portrayed Poe Dameron so perfectly, so amazingly. You felt it through the screen. You felt his cockiness, his pride, his everything about him. It was just clear that it was a great performance, and it really stood out from the rest of the cast. Everyone in this film did absolutely amazing. Carrie Fisher, of course, did great. I'm trying to think of the other actors right now, but I didn't write them down, so I'm currently blanking out. But I would like to move on to the character arcs. So as I brought out previously, Kylo Ren had this amazing development in his arc, and I'm going to say this, and I know it's super cheesy, but one of the greatest things in this film was the strength in the character development. Yes, I know that is something I tend to say a lot, that is something a lot of people tend to say a lot, yet I have to be completely honest, it's so fitting here, and more so than it has been in the past. Kylo Ren, such a great character, easily my favorite Star Wars villain. I love the way he's portrayed in this film so much. His struggle between the light and the dark, it's just so, it's real, it's nothing, although it's nothing we haven't seen before, it's so real this time around, and it's almost as if you feel it just as he feels it. And then, of course, we saw his connection. Obviously, we know that Snoke was connecting Kylo Ren and Rey through the Force, but the scenes where they did have their Force connections, I'll call, it was almost touching, because you see Rey and her light side part of it, and then Kylo Ren with his dark side part of it, and slowly but surely Kylo Ren's turning Rey to the dark side while Rey's turning Kylo Ren to the light side. Things just changed so much in this film, and I'll get more into that later. Luke Skywalker, we know, was going to be a huge part of this film, which he wasn't as big as I thought he would be, but he was still a pretty big character, and honestly, I think his character was enough for the film. We know that Mark Hamill did great, as I brought out. However, Luke Skywalker was amazing. Now, like I mentioned, hashtag not my Luke is an actual thing, and it's been going around forever since the film came out. People are claiming that Luke was character assassinated, like this man told me. I still don't understand whatever that means, because this was still Luke. And think about the fact that 30 years have passed by in the last, 30 years. And so obviously Luke is not going to be the same person. A lot of people kept mentioning how in the original trilogy, Luke was a strong, empowering person who always thought the best of people. And while we do find out that Luke Skywalker is the reason Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, it was also inevitable. And of course, we know that Luke Skywalker has gone through quite a lot of stuff in his life. He saw his father die. He found out that his father was an evil Sith Lord. His mentor and teacher was killed in front of him. And of course, finding out that your girlfriend's also your sister. Like, come on, that's gotta suck. Luke Skywalker was not the same person that he has been in the past, and honestly, I am totally okay with that. The director, Rian Johnson, did an amazing job of portraying Luke in so many ways, because Luke, like I said, was very different than he has been in the past, but it wasn't a bad different, it was a good different. Like I mentioned, though, we did learn that Luke was the reason Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, which was, he saw the dark side in him. He saw the raw power, as mentioned by Snoke, which I'll get into more. He noticed that at an early stage, and he wanted to stop it because, of course, we know that he's seen the dark side at its true power before, and he obviously did not want to have to see that again, especially in someone like his nephew. So he did what he had to do, or he started to, until he realized what he was doing was wrong. However, before it was too late, we noticed Kylo Ren is not okay with this, and ends up fighting back and burns down the Jedi Temple, which is the reason why Luke ends up fleeing and heads out to his own, or to Octo, the deserted island. Well, not deserted, you'll see. But we know that he was on the island because of the incident with Ben Solo. Overall, I really like Luke's character a lot. I think the way he was portrayed was absolutely amazing, and I just have to say, well done to Mark Hamill for portraying that amazing character. Moving on to Snoke, a lot of people were really upset about his role in this film. I thought I would be, but then I realized what it stood for. Snoke was a great character, even though he had a limited screen time in the film. Yet, I think what makes his character great is what it stood for. Yes, Snoke did die, and quite a while before the movie's end, too. Although Snoke's character does get killed by Kylo Ren, I think what it stood for was really great in terms of what it stood for in our world, not the Star Wars universe, which is something else that I will get into later on. Rey's character, as I brought out, I love Daisy Ridley so much, too much, I'm in love with her. And like I said, her character was really great in this film, and I kind of already went over most of her role, but her struggle between trying to figure out who her parents are, to whether or not she's going to be on the light side, or whether she can be a Jedi or not, and then of course her dealing with Luke as her master or trainer. Yet at first he didn't want to train her because she had the same power that Kylo Ren did in the beginning, and of course we know that scared him. But this was another thing also with Luke's character, because we saw his development in terms of, he's changed. He's a paranoid old man now, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. With Rey trying to dive into her dark side and the light side, trying to understand. She comes close to finding out who her parents are, and then she does, yet they don't really tell us until later in this awesome scene, which I'll definitely talk about later, but we do find out that Rey's parents are absolute nobodies, which it's still on the fence whether or not that's true. It could just be Kylo Ren lying to her. Of course, we don't really know for sure whether or not her parents are alive or who they are, but I am pretty confident that what Kylo Ren was saying as to her parents being nobodies, I do think that's true, and I do prefer it stay that way. Now let's talk about some of my favorite scenes. One of them being Snoke's death, in which we learned that Snoke has been monitoring Rey and Kylo Ren like his little children, but also this is where Rey really gets into Kylo Ren's heart, and Kylo Ren realizes that he can do some good for the galaxy, but then he also, the dark side takes over again, and he does the right thing for the wrong reasons. He does end up killing Snoke. He tricks him, and of course he works with Rey to portray that awesome scene in the Red Room, as I like to call it. And in this scene, we noticed that his real motives behind killing Snoke was because he wanted to take over the galaxy himself. Another really good scene was Luke's death in the end, which unfortunately Luke does die, but it's not like one of those scenes where it's like, oh my gosh, he's dead. More like, wow, that was a really great scene. He does die like a lot of the previous Jedi have. He dies in terms through the Force and doesn't really get killed, but has a peaceful death. And I think that scene really just described, this is not This is not the end. This is just the beginning, opening up into a new venture, a new reality. And then finally, my last favorite scene was, of course, the Jedi Temple scene, with the Jedi scripts being burned by everyone's favorite character, or my favorite character at least, Yoda. Master Yoda does appear as a Force ghost, and thankfully he is not a CGI character. He is 100% puppet, just as he was in the original trilogy. We do get to see the Yoda that we love from Empire Strikes Back, and we get to see that kind of character, and he does destroy the Jedi scripts, which, again, I'm going to explain what this stands for in the very end of this video. And then the last of these points that I'm going to bring out are really just the side points that I really wanted to bring out. I want to talk about the visuals for a sec. Visuals were really great in this film, and I have to say, it was really captivating in a lot of the scenes. There was this particular scene on the casino planet known as Canto Bite, which a lot of people did not like, with Finn and Rose, but I did, however, enjoy that scene quite a bit. Benicio del Toro played DJ, which I don't remember them ever referring to his name in the film, but I really liked this scene and his character. I really liked everything about this scene. I don't see why people call it useless and pointless and that it doesn't belong. I really liked it, and you know what? Forget what anyone else says. It's a great scene. Color was really used well in this film. I really liked a lot of the scenes in which the color grading was manipulated, especially the Octo scenes on the island with Rey and Luke. And then, continuing on the island, porgs. So many porgs. I was so worried about the porgs in the trailers because it seemed like porgs were in every trailer, and I was worried that porgs were going to take over this movie. Thankfully, they did not. Porgs were in their place. They had an interesting role. I really liked all of them, and I'm glad that they weren't as annoying as I expected them to be. I loved them. They were awesome. Of course, the score was great. I have to say, the scoring was amazing. I love the music as usual. Star Wars music is always awesome, especially done by John Williams, which I do believe he did them. I could be wrong because I did no research ahead of time. I really liked the score, though, and it really brought out a lot of the important points in the film. Finally, ending this off with the story. The story was well written. I loved it. A lot of people didn't, which I don't understand because most of them were probably high or asleep when they watched it. But you know what? Whatever. That's their opinion, and I have to say, I loved this film so much. So much. Before I give you guys my final score, I would like to discuss what I was talking about, what this movie stood for. I like to call this movie the middle finger, and you're probably asking why. This movie was a huge middle finger to the fan base and to everyone that thought they knew what was going to happen.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to.
This is not going to go the way you think.
And these two are exactly correct, because everything you think is going to happen is not going to happen. The complete opposite ends up happening, and that is so commendable. I call this film the middle finger because it's telling the fan base, grow up. Okay, grow up. Because guess what? It is not the old days. It is not the 70s or the 80s anymore. This is not the original trilogy. And I think that was represented really well in terms of, oh yes, the old characters were in the film. Slowly but surely, Han Solo died in The Force Awakens and Luke died in this film. Leia will most likely die in the next, possibly alongside Chewbacca. Reason I bring this up, yes, all the old characters were in this film. However, they were not the main characters. They were in the film for the sake of satisfaction, and that was perfect. They weren't in it too much, they weren't in it too little, because the important part is remembering this is a new generation. We're moving on, grow up, get used to the change. I love that. Change. This movie is so unpredictable, and change is the most important thing, probably the best part about this film. Remember, change is always happening, and it's going to continue to happen because this is the beginning of the end. So, yes, this film is a middle finger to everyone that thinks they know what's going to happen. And that is so commendable. Rian Johnson, well done, because this film is absolutely amazing. It's a masterpiece in my eyes, and best Star Wars film since Empire. But anyway, I think my final score will be a 9.5 out of 10, maybe a 9.9. I can't give a full 10. I don't know why. It's just really hard for me to do that. But if I did, it would be to this. You know what? No. This movie is a 10 out of 10. I'm just going to say 10, 10. This film is a masterpiece. I love it. You should love it. If you don't, you were probably high when you saw it. But anyway, I am the E-Director, and that was my review, my spoiler review of Star Wars The Last Jedi. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe, and if you don't like it, let me know in the comments, because I will read them. And, yeah. Okay. So, thank you for watching. My name was Evan the E-Director once again, and I will see you all next week.